Hi, folks. Thanks for watching my monologue. As America starts to reopen, just remember that Guns Etc. never closed. They still have over 10,200 square feet of ammo, firearms, and accessories, including safes, and they remain open for business. Stop by their huge store in Mesa or just click on gunsetcetera.com. And if you like my monologues, please subscribe to 960 The Patriots YouTube channel. Thanks. Welcome back and happy June 24th, 2020. We have it with us, we who know a modicum of history, at least as it used to be taught, which is to say accurately, that the cause of the Confederacy was unjust, an effort to preserve and protect a baleful and baneful institution. Plainly, it was a rebellion against America and her ideals and founding. Indeed, its supporters said things like the Declaration of Independence didn't proclaim self-evident truths, but self-evident lies. In his famous or once famous Cornerstone speech, Alexander Stephens, the vice president of the Confederacy, said, quote, The American founding rested upon the assumption of the equality of the races. This was an error. It was a sandy foundation, and the government built upon it fell when the storm came and the wind blew. Our new government, he continued, quote, is founded upon exactly the opposite idea. Its foundations are laid, its cornerstone rests upon the great truth that the Negro, his words, is not equal to the white man, that slavery, subordination to the superior race, is his natural and normal condition. This, our new government, is the first in the history of the world based upon this great physical, philosophical, and moral truth. Close quote. The more we read and know our history, the more we come to an amazing irony. The rioters among us today, those targeting American institutions and statuary, those proclaiming America racist, those claiming 1776 and the founding we all thought was our founding, and switching it to 1619, they are in exact common, in exact league, in precise consonance with the very Confederate monuments they are trying to illegally take down. And they are even more so in exact common, in exact league, in exact consonance with the Confederate States of America when they go after, say Abraham Lincoln and Ulysses S. Grant and the 54th Regiment Memorial in Boston. I hope this point is not too subtle. We have had the experience that thought our founding was a lie. It was the Confederate States of America. And today's rioters in the BLM and Antifa movements, they share that view. We have had the experience that Lincoln and Grant, those who nobly fought under them, were evil monsters. It was the Confederate States of America. And today's rioters in the BLM and Antifa movements who share that view. We have had the experience that thought our country should treat humans by the basis of their race rather than the basis of their humanity. It was the Confederate States of America and today's rioters in the BLM and Antifa movements who share that view. We have had the experience that thought our country should be rebelled and taken up arms against. It was the Confederate States of America and today's rioters in the BLM and Antifa movements who share that view. Shame on them all. You know, there were scholars of yore who thought the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution was not meant to include black Americans. There were. They had names like Roger B. Taney. He was the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and he wrote just that in the Dred Scott decision. Most of us used to think he was wrong. Most of us used to think that was one of the worst decisions in history. Most of us agreed with the dissenting opinions of Benjamin Curtis and John McLean, whose better history than Taney's provided otherwise, and Abraham Lincoln, who gave one of his most famous speeches deconstructing and destroying the Dred Scott decision, in a speech that would go on for about 5 times the length of any of my opening monologues. Lincoln put it poetically. In part of his speech, this is what he said, quote, "In those days, the time of our founding, our Declaration of Independence was held sacred by all and thought to include all. But now, To aid in making the bondage of the Negro universal and eternal, it is assailed and sneered at and construed and hawked at and torn till its framers could rise from their graves, and if they did, they would not recognize it at all. All the powers of earth seem rapidly combining against this man. Mammon is after him, ambition follows, philosophy follows, and the theology of the day is fast joining the cry. They have the black man in a prison house. They have searched his person and left no prying instrument with him. One after another, they have closed the heavy iron doors upon him, and now they have him, as it were, bolted in with a lock of 100 keys, which can never be unlocked without the concurrence of every key, the keys in the hands of 100 different men, and they scattered to 100 different and dissonant places, and they stand musing as to what invention in all the dominions of mind and matter can be produced to make the impossibility of his escape more complete than it is. Close quote. That departure and running away from our founding philosophy and history, as had been taking place, was embraced by Chief Justice Taney and the Confederacy. It was opposed by Lincoln and Grant and Frederick Douglass and almost all understanding of American history until about 40 years ago, and by the BLM and Antifa movements today. Even today, as the Emancipation statue of Abraham Lincoln in Washington, D.C. is up for destruction, we see yet again there are still those who must embrace the cause of freedom and equality by wanting to destroy monuments to those who fought for it against those who did embrace the racial and racist perspectives of humanity. And they took up arms against the United States to do so. There are no, it now seems, greater endorsers of the Dred Scott theory and Confederate philosophy and decisions than the Antifa and BLM activists and their supporters today. I hope that irony is not lost on people, but I fear it is. It is, I believe, a subtle but very important point. Let me put it squarely and unsubtly. There were those who thought our founding was not meant to include blacks. They went to war against America. They wrote decisions, like the Dred Scott decision. They formed the KKK. There were more who thought the founding was meant to and did include blacks. They opposed and dissented in the Dred Scott decision. They went to war against those who went to war against America. They tried to make the KKK illegal. They had names like Lincoln, Curtis, McLean, Grant, and Frederick Douglass. The Antifa and BLM movement embraces the views of the first group, not the second, and they again are going to war against America. If I may paraphrase the great Mark Levin, that's right, I said it. Well, I haven't heard anyone else say it, and I think it needs to be said. Now, as to this Emancipation Memorial in Washington, D.C., why is there a group and movement to take it down? As I pointed out yesterday, the most famous black man of his time, a former slave, Frederick Douglass, he spoke at its dedication. Do today's know-nothings know more than Frederick Douglass? Do they even know who he is, or that he was part of the erecting of that memorial? Here's how he opened his dedication in 1876. Quote, "Wise and thoughtful men of our race who shall come after us and study the lessons of our history in the United States, who shall survey the long and dreary spaces over which we have traveled, who shall count the links in the great chain of events by which we have reached our present position, will make a note of this occasion. They will think of it and speak of it with a sense of manly pride and complacency." Close quote. Well, I guess he was wrong. Wise and thoughtful people who came after Douglass, i.e. the know-nothings of today, have not studied the lessons of history and do not see the memorial as a statue of pride. But that is their problem and our current problem, not Douglass's, not Grant's, not Lincoln's. Frederick Douglass said this too at the dedication, quote, "We stand today at the National Center to perform something like a national act, an act which is to go into history, and we are here where every pulsation of the national heart can be heard, felt, and reciprocated." Close quote. I guess he was wrong about that as well. as this history is lost, or, I should better say, it's become subject to junk thought and junk education and deliberate miseducation. I could quote so much more from Frederick Douglass, but I'll just quote this and ask you to ask our BLM and Antifa rebels, who do they think knows more and better American history when it comes to slavery and our founding? They or Frederick Douglass? It's like asking who knows more or better history of World War II, Elie Wiesel and Viktor Frankl or Winston Churchill, or David Duke and Louis Farrakhan. Douglass said this, quote, that we are here in peace today is a compliment and credit to American civilization and a prophecy of still greater national enlightenment and progress in the future. I refer to the past not in malice, for this is no day for malice, but simply to place more distinctly in front of the gratifying and glorious change which has come both to our white fellow citizens and ourselves, and to congratulate all upon the contrast between now and then, the new dispensation of freedom, with its 1,000 blessings to both races, and the old dispensation of slavery with its 10,000 evils to both races, white and black. In view, then, of the past, the present, and the future, with the long and dark history of our bondage behind us, and with liberty, progress, and enlightenment before us, I again congratulate you upon this auspicious day and hour. Close quote. Let Eleanor Holmes Norton tell us. Let the BLM and Antifa movements tell us Frederick Douglass was wrong. But this American, me, I still hold with him that this is a country of liberty, progress, and enlightenment. Douglass concluded his dedication of that which Norton and the mob wants to take down this way, quote, fellow citizens, I end as I began with congratulations. We have done a good work for our race today. In doing honor to the memory of our friend and liberator, Lincoln, we have been doing highest honors to ourselves and those who came after us. We have been fastening ourselves to a name and fame imperishable and immortal. We have also been defending ourselves from a blighting scandal. When now it shall be said that the colored man is soulless, that he has no appreciation of benefits or benefactors, when the foul reproach of ingratitude is hurled at us, and it is attempted to scourge us beyond the range of human brotherhood, we may calmly point to this monument we have this day erected, to the memory of Abraham Lincoln. Close quote. I get haters of America, the permanent revolution crowd, the Marxists and neo-know-nothings. Just don't count me among them, because you shall not count yourselves among them either, because we still think of this place as the last stand on earth, as Ronald Reagan put it, and the last best hope of earth, too. Destroy it, and you destroy everything. Everything good. I'm Seth Leibson. We'll be right back.